Now, this slide summarizes those exact values. It also puts the angles in both degrees and radians. Now, the easiest way to remember these ratios is not to keep drawing the triangles. If you remember that sine theta going from left to right for pi on 6, pi on 4, pi on 3 is 1 on 2, 1 on root 2, square root of 3 on 2. If you remember all of those and only those, you'll be able to get the others, because half 1 on root 3 on 2, the cos is in the reverse order because they're complementary ratios. Okay, so what I mean by that is that value goes there, that value goes there, and these are the same because they're both 45 degrees. Then your final line, you just remember as being sine theta over cos theta. Okay, the rest of the table is from our unit circle, going from 0, pi on 2, pi, 3 pi on 2, and remembering that x is cos theta and y is sine theta. Okay, so our x coordinate for 0 and 2 pi is 1. So cos of 0 and 2 pi is 1. So you can see that there. Sine of 0 and 2 pi, that's our y coordinate, that's why it's 0. Tan being sine over cos is 0 divided by 1, which is 0. Going up to pi on 2, our x coordinate is 0, so cos of pi on 2 is 0. Sine pi on 2, which is our y coordinate, is 1, and then tan would be 1 divided by 0, which you can't do, which is why it's not defined. Going around to pi, we have our x coordinate is -1, so our cos of pi is -1, our sine of pi is 0, and our cos, which would be 0 divided by -1, which is 0. Finally, down to 3 pi on 2, our x coordinate is 0, so cos of 3 pi on 2 is 0. Our y coordinate is -1, so sine of 3 pi on 2 is -1, and our tan would be -1 divided by 0, which is not defined. Now, how could we use these exact values? Well, if we have tan of 5 pi on 4, that is equal to tan of 4 pi on 4 plus pi on 4. So that is tan of pi plus pi on 4. Remembering from the unit circle video that we have theta, pi minus theta, pi plus theta, 2 pi minus theta, and the ASTC rule. So for pi plus theta, I'm in the third quadrant where tan is positive. So I can rewrite that in terms of my first quadrant reference angle as tan of pi on 4. My exact value for tan of pi on 4, so if we go back to the table, tan of pi on 4 is 1. So our answer is 1. For sine of 11 pi on 6, we go sine of 12 pi on 6 minus pi on 6. So that becomes sine of 2 pi minus pi on 6. We are in our fourth quadrant, so sine is negative. So we can rewrite this as negative sine of pi on 6. Our exact value for sine of pi on 6, sine pi on 6 is 1/2. So that's -1/2. Cos of 5 pi on 3, we could rewrite as cos of 6 pi on 3 minus pi on 3. Remember, we always want 2 pi's or pi's. So this is cos of 2 pi minus pi on 3. We are in our fourth quadrant, so cos is positive. So in terms of our first quadrant reference angle, it's cos of pi on 3. Cos of pi on 3 is a half. You have to remember those exact values though. You can't keep looking them up. Tan of negative 3 pi on 4. I can rewrite as tan of negative 4 pi on 4 plus pi on 4, which is tan of negative pi plus pi on 4. Now, with negatives, I always draw the unit circle. We're going around to negative pi, and then we're coming back in the positive direction. So we are in our third quadrant. Tan is positive. So this can be rewritten as tan of pi on 4. Tan of pi on 4 is 1. Next, sine 11 pi on 4. We can't go, if we go 12 pi on 4, we end up with 3 pi, which is 1.5. Always try and go a whole or 2 pi. Okay, so you could go for this 8 pi on 4 plus 3 pi on 4. So that'd be sine 2 pi plus 3 pi on 4. That is 1 revolution. So we can rewrite that as sine of 3 pi on 4. Sine of 3 pi on 4 would be sine of 4 pi on 4 minus pi on 4. Sine of pi minus pi on 4. We are in our second quadrant, so sine is positive. So that is equal to sine of pi on 4, which is 1 on root 2. With more practice, you could do that in one step. That's just probably what I would recommend for now. Next one, tan of negative 2 pi on 3, tan of negative 3 pi on 3 plus pi on 3. So that's tan of negative pi plus pi on 3. So again, it's a negative, so I'd like to draw. We go around to negative pi, and then we come back again in the positive direction. So we are in our third quadrant. So tan is positive. So that's the same as tan of pi on 3, and tan of pi on 3 is root 3.